So you're driving along in your 2016 Jaguar XF and your water pump goes out. So you make it to the auto mechanic and you say, hey man, help me out. And he's bending you over because he's looking for your wallet. What do you do next? You go to Autos in Paradise. That's what you do. Let's fix this thing. So you're driving along and a water pump on your XJ or XF. What the hell is this thing called? Welcome to Autos in Paradise. Today we're working on the 2016 Jaguar XF and we are going to change the water pump because she's leaking. She's soaking wet. So we're going to see if we can do anything about that. The next thing you want to do is disconnect the positive lead to the battery, which is under the spare wheel, which is in the trunk on the Jaguar. Our vehicle is already jacked up, but what we want to do is raise it up. So we're going to do that first. Probably way too much information, but make sure it's well centered on there. And if you want extra precaution, you can also take a tire and throw it up under each side of the vehicle. A little extra safety. It's always recommended. More safety is always better than less safety. So the first thing I recommend doing when you're doing any engine work from here on out, it's my own personal recommendation, because what I've done is just slightly nicked the condenser on this engine and I had to replace it, and it was a $60 mistake. And that's just for the condenser. You're talking about additional cost for refrigerant and a licensed professional to install and recharge your air conditioning system. So it's a large task to get that done. So I highly recommend putting a shield on this or over that cross member there. That would be beneficial also, because the video you're watching now is because I did nick that condenser. I had just slightly, I dropped a tool and it just slightly nicked that condenser, and it just evacuated itself rather quickly. So highly recommended. The next thing you want to do is perform the cumbersome task of trying to take this lower cowling off from underneath the front end of the car. Or what I may choose to do is put a rather large tarp down and see that plug right there. Get a wrench and loosen that, and all the fluid should run out. So what I've chosen to do is let that drain into there, put a trash bag below myself, and what that's going to do is drain into that. If you take a couple of bolts off on the bottom of the engine here, or I'm sorry, the splash guard, there's two large bolts at the back of the splash guards that you can take down. That'll allow you to bend this down a little bit. It's going to make things a lot easier. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is take a lot of this intake plastic off of the vehicle. Let's go ahead and take that off. As you can see, these little ball ends hold that on, so it's not extremely, don't be scared with that. Here we got to take off some of this air induction and air manifolds. So take off some of these pop screws here. They just unscrew and unclip. Pop those out. And this front piece is clipped on. Take that off. Next, we'll take these two hoses off here that go to the air cleaner boxes.
there and there. These little two pieces here will come off.
Water line here, and I want to take particular attention to show you this one. So you want to pop that up so we can disconnect that like that right there by taking a lot of these clamps off. These are just hose clamps here. A lot of this this air box material is just plug and play, just to give you a quick idea of where everything goes. I went ahead and took off all this air induction ducting, and if you can do this fast, more power to you. This fitting here may pose a small challenge here, but it's just a matter of knowing what to do. It's like a click on, so these layered sections here, just squeeze that in and it clicks off. Try to keep all our parts in the same orientation, and what do you think, Halloween? I'm going to attempt to do this without taking these two boxes off here, just to hopefully save a little time. I'll let you know if that works out.
Here I'll go ahead and give you a quick view of the belts. These are gonna have to come off. I'll try to provide some video here so it'll make things easier for when you're taking them off and going to put them back on. I'll provide a diagram also. There's a tensioner right there. That's going to take a 1/2-inch breaker bar or a ratchet wrench to loosen those up. I'll demonstrate that later. Go ahead, and if you can also see there at the bottom, all those coolant lines, you're not going to need to take any of that away. So that's going to save a lot of time also. I was able to do the entire thing without doing any of that.
So this front supercharger belt here, let's get a nice shot of this the best we can. It goes down there to that tensioner, takes off, goes down around the crankshaft, under. So there's a 1/2-inch square hole that you have to put your ratchet wrench in here. Go ahead and do that, and then lift up, and that will release the tension on the belt, and you can slip that off. I'm going to lift up on that, release the tension, slip that belt off just like that. Go ahead and slip that off there. Keep that guy for later. What I want to do next is pull a couple of these hoses to give us a little access here, since the coolant has already been drained. Let's go ahead, and this is a clever device here. You want to release this ring in here. Just like so, and that'll allow you to pop this hose right here off. As far as this one, you want to get a flat-edged device. Release that little plastic keeper out just a little bit, and then you can pull this hose. Now, a new one is going to come with the water pump, so if you crack or break anything, don't be too concerned at this point. We'll go ahead and get us some needle nose pliers, take that hose off there, and that will give us a little bit better access. You may wish to take this entire hose off if you wish, but I think we can get away with it if we just take this top hose off right here. For this rear belt, what I want to do is, if you see the pulley, there's a pulley behind there that you're going to have to get up and behind. The water pump belt, if you're going to replace that, I'm not going to do it at this time, but you're going to release the tension on this guy, pull this up, release the tension. I'm going to pull it up off of the water pump here. But in order to get that belt off, if you're going to replace it, what you're going to have to do is flip it sideways and then go behind that pulley like that. That would be the easiest way to do it as far as best I can tell. For our purposes here, all I really need to do is get this belt out of the way so I can replace the water pump. So what I'm going to do is pull on this tensioner and just take it off of this top pulley over here. And that's going to get me where I want to be. And then you can take the belt off of here. Because this is the only piece of equipment where this water pump here is, that's the only thing we're really concerned with. So we're going to be able to take that off. Otherwise, you're going to have to spend a little bit of time routing that belt as I showed you. All right, we're almost home. All we need to do now that we have the belt out of the way is get this tensioner off of here. The reason being is that right here there is a Torx bolt. Without stripping it out or anything, would be to take this tensioner out of the way. So go ahead and grab you a 1/2 inch, and then you're going to have to take this tensioner. Go ahead and take that bolt out. That gets our tensioner out of the way. Very good. And then now we can get to this Torx bolt here, which is just a little bit out of the way behind it, so you can't really get a straight shot at it. A Torx bit, a T30. So there, it's not an Allen wrench, and maybe a small extension just to bring you out from the pulleys there. One here. There it is. This one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Play a little melody at the same time. A little pulley harmony. Make our own band. What do you say? Pulleys and harmony. Better than Bone Thugs and harmony? Oh, I don't know. You guys are pretty good, actually. Yeah, she's already loose. She's coming off. There we go. All 4 bolts. And the moment you've all been waiting for. Here it is. Pulls out just like that. Careful, there may be some things in the back. Like that. Pay close attention to this guy and the orientation. All right, everybody. What we just did was all for naught. I went ahead and took off the water pump, the belts, and everything, and I wanted to show you. We have another issue which you may run into after you have installed the water pump, like we just did, and that's all fine. Well, everything we just did was just fine. Everything was perfect. Torque specs, everything was great. The problem is, our situation right here has nothing to do with the water pump necessarily, although that rubber grommet that we did put in was a good find. However, I'm gonna go ahead and do a little demonstration here. I want you to pay close attention to this plastic piece just behind the entire water pump. This plastic assembly right here. I'm gonna blow some air in here. I want you to see what happens. So hold on to your lug nuts, campers. It's time for an overhaul. Well, and now for the star of our main attraction, let's go ahead and meet our cooling pipe here. And with a little wiggle. And there we are. So that's going to be nice to get a new one in there. That's more than an O-ring. That's broken. So here it is. Just like that. It's split right down into several thousand miles. Will do that to you, huh? Yeah, she's blown out. So she's got all kinds of issues. All right, what I want to do here is look at the old water pump. Here it is, for any defects or problems with the old installation. And it turns out this coupling that goes into the engine, let's go ahead and take that out. It has an O-ring, or a grommet, if you will, here. So let's take a look at this one. And on the inside of the coupling that goes to the engine, there is another grommet in here that goes inside there. Now look, if we compare the two next to each other, I think you can tell that the one on the right, the one that went into the engine, is significantly crushed. If you compare those side by side. So significantly damaged over here. And that is generally in the same area where it was leaking. So I'm pretty convinced that that's our problem there. So those are our two seals, and here's our plastic coupling. Plastic coupling here, good seal. The seal that came out, not so good. So the Beck and Arnley pump that we got, unfortunately, let's go ahead and unbox this thing. Doing an unboxing video of a water pump. You're really excited, I know. All right, here we go. So this is the Beck and Arnley. Nice enough pump. The only problem is, it's going to go this way. The only problem being, guess what we don't have? We don't have the plastic coupling or the two seals that come with it. So it turns out I've looked all over town for this grommet, and it's very difficult to get. So we are going to go ahead and replace the water pump that I have from Amazon, the Beck and Arnley, and I'm going to go with the Gates water pump assembly because it does come with the grommet in question. So we're going to go that way, and we will continue our installation in a bit. So stay tuned for more exciting adventures here on Autos in Paradise.